And before, do I go get Busha? Good evening, everybody. I will call this meeting to order, the Civilian Oversight Commission. And before we jump in, we will have a brief opening statement from County Executive Derek Johnson.
Great. Well, first off, thank you all for your service. I know you guys have been on a little bit of a journey. I know it's always interesting, standing up a new commission, and whether has not been a lot of structure. So I think you all are doing history making and kind of establishing the foundation for the Civilian Oversight Commission. The reason I'm here tonight, and we've had a long day, we had our budget adopted today by the Board of Supervisors, which was done unanimously. So the office was a little bit of buzz, but I knew that John, tonight is John's first meeting. I just wanted to welcome John Alden. As many of you know, and we were fortunate to have members of the Civilian Oversight Commission that served on the interview panel, ultimately made the real challenging decision. We had a very competitive pool, and John rose to the top. Many of you probably know John from his recent experience up in Sonoma County, and we're really excited to have John join the team and really support the commission and its important role. We're certainly at this inflection point in terms of that foundation that we need to build with the commission and our law enforcement partners, and will be a key part of that in terms of negotiating many agreements. So I've had a chance to be with John for about 3 weeks in the office. I think you'll find him very responsive to things that I know that's important to the commission in terms of its oversight role and purview. And obviously you'll continue to still see Stefan and Lynn in this role, but tonight I just wanted to come by to provide a brief introduction to John and wish you Godspeed. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, and now we will move on to the first item on our agenda, which is public open time. This is an opportunity for members of the public to provide comments on items that are not on the agenda. Speakers will have 2 minutes. And are there any members of the public that would like to provide comment for public comment time? Still have no spot. This is our podium.
Yeah. Okay. Hi everyone, good evening, Heidi. I'm excited that we finally have an IG. Welcome. When the working group was together, this was an integral part of how you all would work. I think it's important for us to keep remembering that this commission invited the sheriff to come to ask questions about the complaint process. The sheriff said, I'd love to come, but you need to invite me. You spent 2 months drafting an invitation, and then he said, I can't come until there's an IG. Well, now we have an IG. He's still not here, but there's 3 representatives from the sheriff's office in the back, as per usual. So I think let's see what he says now, because the vision for this is to bring community voice to what public safety looks like. That the sheriff's office can't decide by themselves what safety looks like in a community, and you all should be talking to your neighbors and talking to people most negatively impacted by law enforcement to find out what they need to build relationship and to have trust in this current system that we have. So thank you all so much. I know it's a lot of packets to read and work to do, and that you have other things in your lives that are important to you. So really appreciate you and can't wait to see what we're going to get up to on Rand.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public?
Me for my allergies very bad, so my face looks terrible. Red eyes. I noticed last few meetings that committee member Macaroni has missed 3 consecutive meetings. In the bylaws says that you missed 3 meetings, yes, you be officially terminated. I'm not sure how that sequence happens or works, but nothing against him personally. but this is a commitment. If you can't make it, the bylaws don't start when you vote on them. If someone does something egregious in week 1, does that mean they can do egregious things until the bylaws or code of conduct is implemented? No. Things are proactive, going back to the first meeting. So 3 meetings were missed. It's in the bylaws. So what will you do next? We can look into that. What happens next? Are you setting a pattern if you do nothing for others to do that? Miss 3 meetings, nothing happens. So that's for you. I will email it and we'll see where it goes from there. Secondly, Mr. Alden was here. Marin County is the most, everyone says, white people especially say, we understand Marin County is the most inequitable county in California. Oh, we know that. Okay, then what? So you were here during a time in the 90s or 2000 when Marin County, especially Marin City, where I'm from, Marin County, Marin City violated our civil rights and human rights more than any other county in California. Probably more than any other county in the US. Is Marin County, Marin City, the connection. You worked here during that time. I want to hear from you. How bad were you? It was a terrible office. Now, I don't know. Terrible. Human rights and civil rights violations. I don't expect you to fix it. If you don't fix it, I'll finish up now. I don't expect you to fix it. I don't expect you to even address it. It's up to us to file appropriate lawsuits. But we do know you were there during that time.
Thank you for your comment. Is there on Zoom?
Tammy, go ahead. Tammy, can you hear us? Please unmute.
Here I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it's Tammy Edmondson from MV Free. I just wanted to welcome John Alden to Marin County. MV Free's been following your work in Sonoma with appreciation, and we're very happy to have you on board. So welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anybody else online?
Someone from iPhone SE.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
We turn it down.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I am actually very concerned about the appointment of John Alden to this as the Inspector General. When I pulled the data for arrests referred to prosecution, 1989 through 2020, what I found was absolutely shocking. And what I found is very similar to what the ACLU is now investigating in Santa Clara County. And of course, we know that Mr. Alden was a prosecutor during that time with the Marin County District Attorney's Office. He does not have a great record. I've heard from his defenders, he was fired in Oakland because he was doing too good of a job or whatever. It's absurd. But it does concern me that there appears to be a conflict of interest with the county paying NACOL and continuing to work with NACOL, given Mr. Alden's role on its board. I don't know if he has left the board, but that should be answered. I have tried to get answers from Mr. Alden previously. He never responded to questions. I have serious concerns about this commission. We heard from Heidi Merchant. She was on the working group. It was never explained to us the number of people, including Ms. Merchant, who had worked as deputy sheriffs or who had serious family connections. She's also married to the former assistant sheriff in Sonoma County. That was very, very serious. I had to do a lot of work to figure that out. And it seems like everybody else was in on the joke, like Tammy Edmondson probably knew and didn't bother to tell anyone. This is not an auspicious beginning. And there's a reason that people don't trust you guys. And it's because you play fast and loose with things that should have been made public from the beginning. So if the issue of John Alden's conflicts of interest with NACOL are not explained to the public, unfortunately, it's going to keep coming up. And it should be explained because in my experience, and I had to run the PRA to get the recordings that NACOL destroyed. NACOL destroyed, deliberately, willfully destroyed 8 out of 12 recordings of the working group that it was overseeing. That's a very serious act of, destruction of material that they were paid. This was a public, these were public documents. They belonged not to the county, they belonged to the public. It is the public that paid the county to pay NACOL, and those documents should have remained within the realm of the public. So I would like an explanation from Mr. Alden, since he is apparently quite familiar with NACOL and he has not previously explained any of that.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anybody else on Zoom? Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment during this time? Okay. Thank you all that commented. We appreciate your feedback. With no other speakers, we will close this item on the agenda. Our next item on the agenda is the consideration of the meeting minutes from the May 11th, 2026 meeting. There's no staff report, but staff is available if there are any questions from any of the commissioners at this time.
No questions. Thank you.
No questions. That's good. All right, I will now open this item up for public comment. There's nobody in the room, nobody on Zoom. All right, well, I will close public comment and I will. And we will move on to approval of the draft meeting minutes.
I'll move approval. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, so that motion carries. And the meeting minutes from the May 11th, 2026 meeting are approved. And we will move right on to the next item on the agenda, which is welcome and introduction from our new Inspector General, John Alden. I'll invite the Inspector General to introduce himself and provide some opening remarks.
Hi, well, my name's John, and it's a pleasure to be here as your new Inspector General. Let me tell you a little bit about me. I know, at least for some of the commissioners, we've had a chance to talk a little bit, and some of you were involved in the interview process. And some members of the public I haven't met yet. Some of you I have. But I've been doing oversight of law enforcement now for about 17 years. A lot of that was in San Francisco, some in Oakland, and some in Sonoma County. In Sonoma County, I was working on a sheriff oversight program, which is one of the few in the state. There's not a whole lot of that that's been going on. Los Angeles County is another example. Most of the oversight in California is over police departments as opposed to sheriff's departments or sheriff's offices. So this is a pretty new style of oversight that you're embarking on here in Marin County, and that's one reason why I was drawn here. Another thing that impressed me about the Marin system is that you seem to be starting from a place of relatively high collaboration where, from what I can see, there's been a lot of agreement between the board of supervisors, the sheriff, the community about how to create the system and make it work. And I can see there's still a lot more work to be done. This is only the first couple of steps, but the fact that collaboration is a hallmark of the process here in Marin County was really appealing to me. And part of the reason that that's appealing to me is that I have found in my work in oversight that the more transparency there is in a system, the more that tends to lead to accountability, and the more that tends to lead to a stronger relationship between community and law enforcement. The more that law enforcement talks to community about why they're doing what they're doing, the more the community engages in dialogue back with law enforcement about what they honestly think about services they're receiving and the pros and cons of those services. The more both sides are held accountable to the conversation, and the closer you get to a place where they're on the same page. And I think that's better for both community and for law enforcement. So the collaboration that I already see here in Marin County, I think is a strong sign that you all as a community are interested in creating that kind of transparency, that kind of accountability, so that those relationships can become the best they possibly can be. Here in Marin County, I think there's a couple different ways in which we're going to need to focus on collaboration from what I can see so far. I'm curious to hear more from you about this. I think there will need to be some collaboration between the Inspector General and this commission so that I am providing assistance to you about some of the topics that you are interested in learning about and opining about and giving feedback about. And I could use some collaboration from you all to help learn more about what's important to folks here in Marin County and how I can better serve the public here through the work that I'm doing at the Inspector General's office. Likewise, I think there's going to need to be some pretty strong collaboration, particularly between the Inspector General and the Sheriff's Office, Sheriff's Department, pardon me, to figure out what some of the aspects of this oversight are going to look like. And I've already had some good conversations with the sheriff in that regard, so I'm optimistic that we're going to have a very collaborative process. And that collaboration needs to also include our partners in labor. And that might include not just people who are sworn, but also people who are civilian members of the Sheriff's Department in Marin County. And I'm looking forward to creating that collaboration, those relationships. So I'm hopeful that this strong collaboration we see between community, the Board of Supervisors, the sheriff, and law enforcement in general can extend out into the collaboration, all these other relationships I just mentioned. To me, my work in that regard starts with a lot of listening. And so I will be over the next few months listening a lot rather than talking. I particularly want to hear from folks at all levels of the Sheriff's Department, people in every community here in Marin County, but particularly communities that feel that they have some concerns, whether positive or negative, about the Sheriff's Department. I'm particularly interested in meeting communities where the lion's share of their patrol enforcement comes from the sheriff, like West Marin and Marin City as two examples. And there are others, but those are some key ones. And so for folks on this commission and in the public, please let me know who to connect with and when and where, and I'll do my best to be in as many places as I can over the next few months and meet as many people as I can to get to know this community. Part of that relationship building for me has started with Sheriff Scardina, and we've already had several positive conversations. He has recently told me that he and his office are working on designating a lieutenant to be a liaison to this group and work on some other projects related to the Inspector General's office. You might have seen that at a Board of Supervisors meeting recently referred to as an AB 1185 lieutenant. And the sheriff tells me that he's going to be selecting that individual shortly, and that both he and that lieutenant will be here at our meeting in July in person, so that you can meet both of them, hear from them about their vision, about how that relationship might start off, and you'll have a chance to get to know them a little bit. So the fact that the sheriff's committed to coming in July and bringing this new lieutenant who's going to be tasked to liaising with us, I think is a real positive development. Looking forward to that meeting in July. Okay, and then in addition to that, I'm interested in working with some of the subcommittees here at the commission in the near term about the topics that you want to work on. I think it would be useful for us to have a continuing conversation over the next couple months about what topics this commission wants to work on with the Inspector General in particular. There's probably more than we can actually work on in the short term, but I'm looking forward to that. I also really want to thank Lynn Walsh for helping onboard me the last couple of weeks. It's been like drinking from a fire hose, but I'm slowly catching up with all the stuff she laid out for me. She and I are going to keep working together on these meetings for a while, and you'll see slowly I'll be doing a little bit more and she might be doing a little bit less as I learn from her how to make sure these meetings work and how to keep them functioning smoothly for you all on the commission and for the public. In that regard, one thing I want to make sure I note straight away is that when I took this job, I pointed out to the county that I had already set up some travel over the summer based on the needs of my last job, which have nothing to do with the needs of this job, but they've been very kind about allowing me to keep those planned vacations. So I will be out of town the last half of June. And unfortunately, I'm going to be gone the week of August that the August meeting of this commission is scheduled for. So I would certainly like to be working with the chair and the vice chair between now and the next meeting about perhaps moving that back a week or finding some other solution. So that'll be one of my first things out of the gate to talk to you all about that. I know that's a lot. And there's a lot more I'm sure we'll be talking about in the near term. But Madam Vice Chair, if like some folks to ask me some questions from the commission, I'd be happy to answer as best I can.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and I will open this up to the commission for any commissioners that have any questions.
No questions.
No question? No question?
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right, I will now open it up to public comment on this item. Speakers have 2 minutes to ask questions to Mr. Alden. Please feel free to come up and use your time.
Mr. Alden, thank you for taking this job and coming here in Carter County. I just want to just reiterate the fact that that we'd like to see the sheriff, take more part in this commission. They've been very reluctant, and so the fact that you're talking with them and have somewhat of a commitment in July is promising, but we just need to see more transparency through the office and more accountability. And so we're hoping that can happen with you in charge here. And I just want to say thank you for coming on over.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anybody else from the?
Well, as far as transparency, those things in Marin City goes, this county's been very transparent. How to violate the human and civil rights of Black people. And I'll say it until they are dropped or dead. Whatever it means, what does it matter to you all? Probably nothing. I'll keep saying it anyways. Until we get someone here to file a massive lawsuit. Somehow, some way, someday it's gonna happen. So you've been very transparent. When you were here also, 20 years ago, whenever that was, you were very transparent. How to violate people, how to over arrest people, how to over sentence people, how to give them 3 strikes for a pocket full of drugs, for a pocket full of marijuana. Very transparent. Again, you will say, it was bad, but you got promotions behind that. A lot of policemen that I knew got promotions behind arresting someone for a pocket of marijuana. So you've been very transparent. What do you all care? Probably nothing at all, excuse me. So how you move forward with this council, I have no idea. But the advancement project, racecounts.com comes from the advancement project. And as you write, ignore me, that's fine. But the advancement project, racecounts.com, in 2017, the most inequitable county in California, you know this, was Marin County. Why is that? Who took the brunt of that? Marin City. The woman spoke about the 30 years of disparities in arrest and referred to prosecution. The numbers and that data are worse than areas in the deep south. I've looked it up, we've researched. It's the worst in California. We can't get ACLU and those people to show up because many of your resources and dollars go to them. Many of you are part of those organizations, so we can't get them to show up. I'll end it with this. As you move forward, your focus should definitely be on Marin City. We'll see. I'll come here, I'll say the same tune I've been saying. The county of Marin, I'm leaving as the county of Marin as a body, supervisors and all them, excuse my language, but they're full of shit. So we'll see what happens. I'll be back, and whatever's worth, I'll keep shouting the same thing.
Thank you for your comment.
I knew you wanted me to go before you. I'm not going. If you want to-
I was ready. Damien. Yes, I think there are so many things that we can work on, and as part of the working group, our job was to go out and talk to people. And so I think when we talked to unhoused people, we heard, you know, we're getting over policed, and we would want a commission like this to look into what's happening to people who are unhoused. We heard of experiences that weren't great, of folk who were living in our Marin County jail, that the community is really interested in this commission and the IG looking into what it's like when you're incarcerated here. We have several deaths by suicide in our jail that people are concerned about and they want to make sure that their family members, well, of course you don't want your family member to ever have to go to jail. And if they do, you want to, while they're there. Our data doesn't lie, like Damien said. People of color, especially Black people and Latin people, are overrepresented in arrest statistics and incarcerate. All you have to do is look in that parking log that we would prefer get off the searchable function online, because it can make people unsafe when they get released for immigration or domestic violence or things like that. We're also concerned about the cameras, the APLR cameras, where ACLU did come. There was a lawsuit for the cameras that were used before flock. Now we have a bunch of flock cameras. Now there's a recommendation to use an AI surveillance system with probation and law enforcement and the DA's office that has some scary features in it, where it might be trying to figure out where someone on probation is going. And I don't think any of us want to be surveilled at that level. So I think that's another thing I've heard in the community that we'd like you all to work on. No.
Thank you for your comment. What happened?
I'm trying to figure out how to get it to just do a beep. But it seems to need to go through a whole like song cycle. So I'm not sure what's going to come up next.
Okay.
I apologize.
No worries. Is there anybody online? Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I get the point.
All right.
Want to reiterate how important it is to look at the issues that have been concerning this commission and the county, and the people, the public in the county, the flock cameras, code of conduct, all the parts that this commission has been working on. Curious to hear about how your experience in Sonoma County might apply to your work here and what you're bringing to it. You already have a position on the use of flock cameras. You have the same kinds of questions and concerns that we have. So look forward to hearing from you on that.
Thank you for your comment. Now we'll go to Zoom.
iPhone SE, can you unmute?
Thank you. I would like to hear from Mr. Alden, how he squares his role with NACOL as a non-conflict of interest. And I would actually like an answer from the county on that as well. Especially given NACOL's role in deliberately erasing records that were paid for with taxpayer money. Now, I want to be clear that of the 4 recordings that I was eventually able to get from the county, the 4 that NACOL had not erased, deliberately and willfully erased, what was clear is that the Marin County Civilian Oversight Working Group was trying to distinguish itself from the already weak system that Sonoma County had set up. And repeatedly you hear on the recordings, oh, no, we don't want to have the problems. And you hear it again, you hear it echoed in Heidi Merchant's comments about how important it is to collaborate with law enforcement, and that we want a working relationship. And as she said infamously during her comments when she presented the working group's very diluted and ineffectual blueprint that this commission works off of, she wants to do it with love. This is just not an adult way of looking at oversight. It is not it is a child's view of what oversight should be. I think we're also at the point where, you know, people who have been engaged in oversight for decades, and looking at law enforcement abuses, realize that oversight is in many ways just another form of propaganda. So, you know, that's why it's important to have, you know, members
your
from the
comment up.
community. That's why it's important to have members of the community show up and glaze the new inspector general instead of asking tough questions about what happened previously. And
Are there any more members on Zoom? All right, thank you, all that commented. Mr. Alden, would you like to speak to any of the comments or questions that you?
Sure. Well, I'm appreciating hearing from folks in the community already about some topics that are going to be important. I have not worked on block cameras yet, and I don't know that many people have such a new issue. But I can see it's one that's caught a lot of attention here in Marin County, and I'm looking forward to learning more about it along with the members of the commission. Likewise, I don't know enough about the Marin County Jail yet to know enough about conditions there, but I do hear people raising police questions. So that's clearly got to be part of what I will be learning about, just as I'll be learning about patrol functions at the sheriff's office, how those are currently configured, what impacts they have. I heard a number of comments about increasing transparency and making sure the sheriff comes here. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of that next month at our next meeting. I think that's positive. As for NACOL, I am still a board member of NACOL and plan to keep doing that. It's a volunteer position. I don't make any money off of that. And I understand that the contract the county has with NACOL for training for the commissioners is separate from that for the inspector general. They don't provide any services to me and I'm not involved in that contract. And I think that work is almost done anyways. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes next, but that's not any kind of conflict for me. Lots to learn. I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation, and as each of you on the commission and folks in the public, you have more that you want to talk about, please feel free to be in touch.
How many time you're here? You just that?
And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Now we will move on to commission discussion. Do any of the commissioners have anything to bring up at this time?
Nope.
I'm actually just thinking about the schedule. Should we discuss moving the August meeting at this juncture, given that John's not going to be available?
I think we'll set it for the agenda for next.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll talk about that.
And I'm just curious, when the sheriff announced their new lieutenant is on, is that going to be in the form of a press release, or will he just show up, or will we have any event on us? Do we know?
I don't know if they're what kind of outreach they're going to do, but we'll definitely let you know when they have been appointed. We forwarded to you the staff report that the sheriff provided on May 5th. And when they are announced, we'll definitely let you know.
Is it a new hire within the sheriff's office, or is it a existing?
It's a specifically newly created position. Okay. Yes, and then they will fill it with the appropriate person.
Any other comments from the commissioners?
I would just say, we're all very glad to have your role filled. We're glad to have you here. Yeah. I think it's going to be a hard job. I think there's a lot that we're excited to look into, and we all have a lot of high expectations for it. So I'm hopeful we see the sheriff soon, and I'm hopeful it goes the right direction. We're glad to have you.
I second that. Anybody else?
Yeah. No, I think it's just welcome, John, and I think it was great of you to spend some time with each of us to get to know us beforehand. So I think that's why maybe there's not a lot of questions from our side, because we have spent some good time with you. So thank you and welcome.
Yes, and thank you and welcome. And I am very excited to get going on the list of things that we have put on hold, waiting your arrival. So I'm really excited to put some of those things through. So welcome. And thank you for your introduction. I will now close this item and move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the consideration and approval of the commission's draft code of conduct to be considered by the Board of Supervisors. I'll invite staff to present their report at this time.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair McAvoy. Commissioners, for this agenda item tonight, the recommendation before you is two-part. One, to consider and approve the revised draft code of conduct so it can move forward to the Board of Supervisors along with the bylaws which you approved at the last meeting. And then also to close out the ad hoc bylaws and code of conduct subcommittee as their assigned work would be now complete. So a little bit of background. I know we touched on this at the last meeting, but just in case anyone that's viewing this recording or live didn't follow last month's meeting, the ad hoc subcommittee, which is made up of Commissioners Fromer, McInerney, Chan, and Lee, have been working on the bylaws and code of conduct since October 2025. The bylaws were approved at your May 11th meeting, and the code of conduct was sent back to the subcommittee for further refinement. So the draft before you incorporates specific revisions requested by the commission. The subcommittee met on May 27th and worked on those amendments. And so approval today would allow you to allow both the previously approved bylaws and this code of conduct to go forward to the Board of Supervisors for approval. So a couple of key updates on the revised draft, and you can see that there's a red line version in your packet. First of all, the purpose section, we added, the subcommittee added explicit language clarifying the commission's independence and removed the NACOL Code of Conduct hyperlink. In Article 1, the commissioner subcommittee relocated the core values of integrity, independence, transparency, etc. to this section and added specific code of conflict interest guidance from the county's guide. So you can see there's an excerpted section in there with that part. In Article 2, the subcommittee clarified the staff liaison fulfills the role of the secretary. In Article 3, they explicitly added the word discriminatory to the list of prohibited behaviors during meetings. So as I mentioned at the top, because this subcommittee was task oriented, and those tasks will have been met if you decide to approve tonight, dissolving the ad hoc subcommittee would align with your standard practice and your commission's work plan. So with that, I want to extend a sincere thank you to the members of the ad hoc subcommittee for their hard work, and I'm happy to take your questions.
Thank you for that staff report, and I will open it up to the commissioners for anybody that has any questions. No questions from any of the commissioners. I will open this item up for public comment at this time. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes. Do I have anybody in the room? So festive.
Code of conduct, you mentioned bylaws, so I can address that. As I mentioned earlier, so one of the 3 meetings, I will email Lynn and Mr. Rapp and expect as a community member to get a response back about 3 meetings missed from Mr. McInerney. Because the bylaws were voted on last meeting does not equal previous meetings being invalid, missed. So I look forward to your response. I'll go off record a little bit, but I'm here in person, so you have to deal with it. Mr. Alden, you addressed all but one thing. Says a lot about you. You can't conjure up a short response about your time here. We should ignore it. You don't have a statement. Arrogance. Pompous, because you know you made a career off inequities. You know you were promoted off inequities. You know you prosecuted in your office and the job you had was spousal abuse and more, that realm. You know, when you went to Marin City, you got a call, a black man goes to jail automatically. You know, when you got a call in some other areas of Marin County that were unincorporated white couple, and you know that white man got the benefit of the doubt. You know that. The sheriff went there and said, "All's well, I trust you, white family. I trust, oh, have a good one." You know in Marin City, that black man went to jail. You know that. You were a part of that. You feel guilty. That's why you want to address your timing in public. Not behind closed doors with Mr. Rabb and top exec. You know it. You can't conjure up a response. It's guilt.
Thank you for your comment.
You built a career off.
Now we have. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to comment? Give Zoom.
Thank you. Is this code of conduct?
Yes.
Thank you. I do want to point out something that one of Jeff Adachi's prosecutors told me many, many years ago. He said that I had come in with some concerns about a police officer who had been promoted in San Francisco after he had abused a detainee. And I explained like how I was very puzzled. How could someone be promoted after they had done this? And Jeff Adachi's attorney explained to me that that's how he got promoted. That's often how it works, is you become complicit in a corrupt system and it helps you move up. And I'm concerned that we were not, I don't think that the public was really, it was not explained to us, how this decision was made. But I think it is quite telling that the attitude of this commission and of the new inspector general toward their own code of conduct appears to be so lax. I am concerned about someone saying that simply because he's a volunteer on a board does not mean there is a conflict of interest. I don't believe that's the case. I also would ask why we are getting a prosecutor who worked so closely with the sheriff's office previously in this position as inspector general. Were there zero public defenders or other people on the opposite side of that equation who were considered whether they applied or not? Did they receive any serious consideration? And I would say that Mr. Alden's prior work in law enforcement for
Please
this
wrap up your
county,
comment.
it's that in itself should be something listed in the code of conduct as problematic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else online? I will close public comment and we will move on to the commission discussion of this item. Do any commissioners have anything to say?
We'll turn it over to the two people not on the subcommittee. Any questions?
I think you guys integrated our feedback from last time really well. I appreciate you guys have done many revisions. It has not been a short process. So I think it looks great now. I think it really covers what we talked about last time.
Yeah, I appreciate the adjustments that were made for sure. So thank you very much for all of your work.
I have nothing else.
All right, I have nothing else either. The recommendation action before us is to approve the commission's draft code of conduct to be considered for adoption by the Board of Supervisors and close the ad hoc bylaw and code of conduct subcommittee upon completion of its work. Do I have a motion for this item? So for this,
A second.
all in favor? Do we have to roll call this? Okay. Any opposed? Any abstained? All right, well then the motion carries. Woo-hoo, getting it done one by one. Our next item on the agenda is the consideration of the appointment of a monitoring and compliance subcommittee to research and make recommendations for the use of flock safety ALPR in unincorporated Marin County. I will invite staff to hear their report on that.
Right, thank you, Vice Chair McAvoy. So this item has also come before the commission a number of times, but I'll just give a very brief overview. So the recommendations before the commission tonight are to form, number one, to form a new temporary monitoring and compliance ad hoc subcommittee to review and report on the Marin County Sheriff Office's policy compliance. Two, to focus this specific subcommittee's review on the Sheriff's Office's use of the flock safety automatic license plate readers, which we'll call ALPR going forward. And number three is to collaborate with the Inspector General to gather and analyze data on the flock ALPR system to support the subcommittee's work. So a little bit of background. This item stems from the March 2026 community concerns regarding flock safety ALPR technology, followed by an informational staff report presented to the commission on May 11th. The temporary subcommittee that is proposed tonight is proposed to review flock ALPR policies, examine other jurisdictions' approaches, and to develop recommendations for the full commission's consideration. And if approved, the Inspector General's data review will focus on system functionality, data sharing policies, community transparency, and a review of access, tracking, and audit logs. So that concludes my quick overview of the staff report, and I'm happy to take your questions.
All right, now I will open it up to the commissioners if anybody has any questions on this item.
Yeah, just a comment. This is clearly an item we talked about last meeting. I think it's an important subject for us to investigate further. The issue with setting up a subcommittee today is, we have about 4 commissioners missing. So I wonder if it makes sense. Can we appoint people onto a subcommittee via email if they're not here, or should we wait till we have a further, more full attendance? Because I know, for example, the one representative who was in charge of intelligence gathering, she's not here. Our chairperson's not here. So there's a number of people missing. So I feel like we may not want to establish the committee, just this group tonight. I don't know. I'd be curious what other commissioners think.
I think let's discuss that. Let's take that for the discussion part. Yeah. Does anyone, or no?
So they do not have to be here for you to appoint them onto the subcommittee if you so choose, but I don't think that we could do it behind the scenes via email. I think it has to be done at an open meeting, but you could name one of the missing commissioners to serve on that commission if you'd like to tonight.
Congratulations, you've been appointed.
Well, we could form the committee now, appoint a couple people, and then we can appoint more members next week.
We could leave a
That's right.
couple spaces.
That's right, you can have up to 4.
Yeah. Do any of the commissioners have any other questions for staff?
I do. I don't know if we're there yet. Inspector General Alden, I would love to know kind of how you envision working with the subcommittees, like your breakdown of responsibilities between you versus us, like how you see that going, if it's somewhat similar to how we worked with Lynn, or since this is actually your job, like how much you feel like you run with it and then we're like the log, like I kind of want to understand the relationship.
I'm glad you asked, and I'd be
Yeah.
happy to have a longer conversation with the subcommittee about how it can be helpful.
Okay.
So maybe there's some other ideas that I might not think of right now.
That's, yeah.
But my understanding of the ordinance that sets up the commission and the inspector general is that we're separate, right? Neither one of us tells the other one what to do necessarily, but we have lots of opportunity to work together. It's part of why I emphasize collaboration in my earlier remarks. So I would like to be able to help the subcommittee find information, find experts, find materials that you can study about flock cameras, their use here in Marin and their use elsewhere, so that you can become as best informed as one can be about this emerging technology and emerging issue. I'll be learning along with you, so you may have some observations that help educate me as well. And so this will be a little bit unlike some other topics where I probably already have the expertise to walk you through it. Like if you were to ask me about de-escalation and use of force, I could put together over a couple of months a program for a subcommittee where I could verse you on some key points And we can perhaps find some folks at the sheriff's office to help us understand how de-escalation is operating there. Flock's going to be more complicated because less is known. Okay. But I would be interested in learning along with you, finding some experts, finding some materials, and see what issues you all identify. I also think over time, we'll find that the Inspector General and this commission can both make some suggestions or recommendations to the sheriff's office. They don't necessarily have to mirror each other. But I think we can learn a lot from each other about what we think those recommendations ought to be, and perhaps each of our recommendations will be better for having worked together on the subcommittee. How's that sound?
That's helpful. Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, I will now open this item up for public comment. Speakers will have 2 minutes.
So yeah, it says consider appointing an ad hoc subcommittee for monitoring and compliance. It seems like it's open-ended, so like, I know recommendations 2 and 3 are specific for Flock, but 1, it seems like would be for all MCSOs, compliance with applicable policies and procedures. So could this subcommittee look into other things besides just Flock? Because the way it's written, it looks like it could. I would like it to be open-ended because I think there's other policy and procedures, especially with other systems like the Board of Supervisors meeting the other day. They took something off the agenda for peregrine systems, which is something the sheriffs wanted to put on it got put on the consent calendar, and there's Board of Supervisors had issues with it because it's about surveillance. And so with it being open-ended like this, I like that. And I just want to make sure that it's just not for Flock, it's for all the policies and procedures for the sheriff's office as far as compliance and procedures. So
thank you for your comment.
It's important.
Everyone, I hope you put together part of your committee tonight. As we have talked about at some of the meetings, Flock has been playing around with their functions and letting jurisdictions know that they have turned off out-of-state sharing or access, and only through audits are jurisdictions finding out, even after they've done their own audits, that data was taken from their Flock cameras. There's a great article about Tiburon, and I think, that's right here. A lot of times people say, oh, that was somewhere else where there's lots of activity, not in our county, that would never happen here. And the scary part in all the stories is that a lot of it happened without the department knowing. When the ACLU to the sheriff's office here before we had Flock, when we had different automated license plate readers, it was because they were sharing with federal agencies and out-of-state agencies, which is a violation of our state laws. And I think for women, it's really scary that states like Texas are using automated license plate readers to see, to track women getting health care that they might not necessarily believe in. And so it's something important for us to look into to make sure don't love the idea of surveillance and people being able to pull up where you're going and what you're doing. And so there should be a lot of parameters around how long the data is kept and what's happening with it. And I also agree with the peregrine solution that was just on the consent calendar a few weeks ago that will link up all the criminal justice systems for probation and for the sheriff's office. And that to me is very concerning as well. So maybe you want to add that in since it's a hot topic on our board agenda right now.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else in the audience? Is there anybody on Zoom?
Let me go ahead and unmute.
Thank you. It's Tammy Edmondson again. So last meeting, the commission proposed the flock subcommittee, and MV Free had obtained data about the flock system through a Public Records Act request. So we drafted the memo that appears in your packet to share that information along with some research and analysis. But that was before we learned that the sheriff plans to implement the far more invasive Peregrine mass surveillance system. Peregrine's generative AI system is designed to instantly integrate not just flock camera data, but every source of and form of information you can think of. Live and recorded surveillance and communication systems, audio, video, still photos, documents, databases, you name it. And Peregrine brags that it automatically links people, places, things, and events across multiple degrees of separation. The system will develop detailed portraits and timelines of the actions and interactions of every single member of our community. On May 19th, as has been mentioned, 12 Marin law enforcement agencies led by the sheriff tried to pass the $1.5 million Peregrine contract on the Board of Supervisors consent calendar without a public discussion. Thankfully, Supervisor Rodoni flagged that alarming proposal and insisted that the matter be presented at an upcoming public meeting. The board needs this commission's help. We urge you to broaden the scope of the flock subcommittee to consider and recommend standards for the approval and use by the sheriff of any invasive new surveillance technologies, including Peregrine, flock, and any others that will inevitably come your way. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have any more members on Zoom? Anybody else from the audience? All right, I will close public comment for this item. Thank you very much for your feedback. And I will move on to the commission discussion of this item. Prior to taking action, we'll need to identify commissioners interested in serving on this ad hoc subcommittee. And I will open it up to commission.
I think that as one member of the public observed, there is a little bit of confusing wording in the proposal that describes this subcommittee in general terms, but I think it's all of our understanding that this was really stood up to just focus on flock. So that if we approve it as is, I think it would really be approving a subcommittee focused on just flock related policies. But I think that the woman on the phone also made a good point that it might be a good idea to expand the purpose of this subcommittee to generally technology adoption issues. And that could be a subcommittee that at its discretion could decide to incorporate other issues like that. I'm not opposed to that if others want to do that. And if we have enough people supporting that, but that might be, I don't know if that means that we just send it back for consideration and then talk about it later. Where do you go on that?
I think the agenda item has noticed the topic, so if you want to talk about related things to flock, you can do so. So I think you're within your ability to discuss.
Can't hear you. Sorry, couldn't hear you.
I just was saying that the commission can discuss expanding the topic to be related to the flock camera and related technology because the agenda item has appropriately noticed the topic.
Oh,
If I could just add though, there's a distinction. This is a ad hoc subcommittee, right? And this ad hoc subcommittee per your work plan has either a time constraint or a deliverable, like a task that is expected to be completed. So for example, the bylaws and code of conduct, upon the final vote by the full commission that their task has been done, so their subcommittee dissolves. If this is expanded to technology, then I would just ask that you were very clear on maybe a time ending, like we'll study technology for 6 months and then end, or a key deliverable. Because if there isn't an end, then this becomes a standing subcommittee. Standing subcommittees are open to the public and have to follow all of the Brown Act parameters that we do for our entire, full mission meetings. So that's the only consideration if you are going to expand or change.
That seems
Consider
too unwieldy, so I take
Yeah.
back what I said.
Okay.
And I think it said that the subcommittee can also come back and they could decide, oh, we also want to look at X, bring it to the full commission.
Yeah.
And then we can vote to expand it at that time rather than giving them blanket authority now to look at whatever.
Well, I think that it would make sense to do flock and related surveillance technologies. And because that fits within the item on the agenda and still have the same deliverable as a recommendation that we'll be making. So that way it keeps it within the ad hoc realm.
I just feel like there could be a lot of technology we're looking at there. And I think that the Peregrine one, we don't know the board of supervisors are gonna approve it. And it's really easy for us to set up an ad hoc subcommittee. I appreciate the comment about making sure we have it open, but we could set up an ad hoc subcommittee, we could put on the agenda, set it up at any meeting. So I don't know, I kind of worry that we're getting a little too big for that. And maybe we come back to Peregrine if and when the supervisors decide.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, with that, Mike, so I'm not opposed to having two separate ones. But the thing with why this is kind of like a urgent thing is that it was put on their consent calendar.
Yeah.
And they were gonna push it through as a consent calendar item without allowing the public to comment on this. And it was one of the Board of Supervisors that said, hey, let's table it. And so I
I
think,
think that the issue with that though is not the technology itself, it's with the manner in which the sheriff decided to put it on the calendar, which is a different issue to look into.
no,
I think using the term technology is too broad. I think it's a great suggestion. Why not say, I see nothing wrong with saying flock safety, automated license, ALPR and related surveillance technology. That sounds like it's pretty targeted.
yeah.
To me, I mean, otherwise then you get a situation that it's something related to it and they're like, oh, well, we can't give you that information because your committee isn't set up to address it, but if it's related.
And I think there is a lot of overlap between this technology and the flock camera set up. That's why I think it would make sense to.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of the information gathered for this is through those cameras. I don't know,
Is it, okay, I guess.
yeah, I think there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would move, I mean, I'll just throw it out there, not to cut off discussion, because let's continue with any other questions or discussion, but I would move the recommendations, but expand that. I wasn't also clear, we say identify the sheriff's use. I wasn't sure that verb was kind of weird to me. I don't know if we identify or what are we asking in two, and then, but I would expand it to related surveillance technologies, like Commissioner Mack suggested.
Okay, so before we do that, do we want to get what commissioners are interested in being a part of this ad hoc subcommittee?
We know that Commissioner Gaston said at the last meeting she wanted to be on it, so that's.
Yeah. Should we just throw her in, or should we just leave a space?
You can resign if she doesn't.
She was pretty clear.
I think she really wants
Okay.
it, yeah. I think we cover it.
Do we have one more?
You have a comment?
If I can add a little something. I was noticing your bylaws, which I know you all have approved, but the board has not yet approved, so maybe they're not yet operational. You described the chair could name members to a subcommittee. So if you identify somebody later on, a week from now, who wanted to be on this subcommittee but wasn't here tonight, the chair could resolve that.
Just throw them in.
Yeah,
If I can
just a thought.
just add one more thing around your parameters about adding and related surveillance technology. Just as a layperson, that also feels broad to me. So I would just recommend that when you do create the language, you do pinpoint a deliverable or a time limit on this subcommittee. So just my recommendation to you to really make it a ad hoc subcommittee. It should have either a task that gets accomplished or a time frame, and that's my recommendation. That when you're speaking it through and doing your motion today, that you
And
verbalize that.
The task could be to create a recommendation, correct?
It could be, and it could take years to come to it because it's such a broad So yeah,
Okay,
so it could be like within a year or 6 months, something on Flock. Something like
so
that.
if we were gonna create a time, I mean, do commissioners have an idea of what they think a reasonable amount of time?
I think 6 months, like do it 6 months, and then if we need more time, they can come back and say to the committee.
So it's either 6 months or at which time the formal report recommendation is presented,
No longer than 6 months.
but no longer than 6 months. And then at the 6 month time, should we not have a report or anything, we have to decide what's going on with this subcommittee.
Okay,
And I think besides the time, I would like a report back about the current usage, like what are the facts of how we're using Flock and other technologies?
well, and that would be like a
And that's
report out,
Yeah,
like how we did.
like I would like a deliverable like that, I think.
Can we do a monthly report out with updates?
If needed, okay, yeah, okay.
Do you wanna set that in?
No, I mean, if you don't have anything 1 month, like, that's okay.
You just meant a final report.
Yeah, I just want to find a report that could or could not have recommendations.
Okay,
Like, I don't think we have to force you to give recommendations,
Okay.
but like a final report out that could or could not have recommendations depending on what you
okay,
determine.
okay.
Yeah.
So we are I don't know exactly how you want me to word this, but do I? Okay, so let's go. The recommended action before us is to appoint a monitoring and compliance ad hoc subcommittee to monitor, report on, and issue recommendations regarding the Marin County Sheriff's Office compliance and applicable policies and procedures, identify Sheriff's Office use of Flock Safety Automated License Plate Readers, ALPR, as
And related technology.
and related surveillance technology through the proposed use of Peregrine? Peregrine? As the policy or program for the subcommittee to review, and request that the Inspector General collect and analyze data and information related to the Sheriff's Office use of Flock Safety, ALPR, and Peregrine, and support the subcommittee in carrying out its work. Do I have a motion?
I would suggest rather than specifically tying it to Peregrine, I would say related surveillance technology.
Such as Peregrine.
Okay, and related, okay,
Got it.
okay, all right.
The committee is expected to exist for 6 months, don't we want
Yes, the
that?
committee is expected to exist for 6 months with monthly report outs if necessary. And the final objective of having a drafted recommendation to send to the sheriff's office.
What's the last thing I didn't catch?
It has,
A drafted
it has good
recommendation.
grammar, so I
Okay,
She said the
I-
final deliverable would be a report
To
to
the
the sheriff
sheriff.
office, recommendation,
recommendation,
so either 6 months or completion of report to be sent.
yeah.
It's not coming.
And as of now, we have myself and Commissioner Gaston as members of the subcommittee. Are you sure nobody else wants to join us? All right, so as of right now, it is those two commissioners. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
So much easier.
Any abstained? The motion for the creation of this monitoring and compliance subcommittee is carried. And that concludes our agenda for today. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to join during the meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, and we are so concluded. Thank you, everybody, for
As you guys start to meet together.
Yeah.